In 2025, something unsettling is happening. Not with wars or treaties, but in airports. Suitcases are no longer headed to New York, passports aren't pointing to Florida, and the American dream seems to have lost its shine. Canada, France, Japan, and other historic allies are canceling their trips to the U.S. in droves. What's going on? Is it just economics, or a symptom of something much deeper? This video reveals the countries turning away from the American giant and the reasons that could forever change its place in the world. Number 7. Denmark, the roar of a small nation. On the cobblestone streets of Copenhagen, winter was always the time to plan the big getaway. New York in spring, Utah's national parks in summer, maybe a coastal drive through California in a rented Mustang. But in January 2025, something shifted. Danish travel agencies noticed that brochures featuring the Brooklyn Bridge weren't moving, and inquiries were shifting to Iceland, Scotland, even the Faroe Islands. Statistics soon confirmed it. Air traffic between Denmark and the U.S. plummeted by over 34%, a drop unseen since the pandemic lockdowns. By the way, we've created the only travel guide that compiles proven strategies to optimize your budget, manage visas, and explore residency options while seizing cultural and job opportunities abroad. With 7 volumes packed with practical tips and nearly 400 pages, it costs less than a Starbucks coffee. Hurry, because in a few days, the price will more than double. Check the community post for more info, and I'll leave the link below. Portrait of a Falling Out. In April, an Aarhus newspaper published a letter from a retiree who returned a box of chocolates after discovering the almonds were from California. Within hours, the letter went viral with the message, "If it's American, I'm not buying." It wasn't anger, it was disappointment. The U.S. had publicly criticized Denmark's governance of Greenland, questioning the autonomy Copenhagen considers central to its national identity. Those words from Washington felt like meddling and awakened a Nordic pride rarely seen raising its voice. The Boycott U.S. Goods movement gathered 95,000 signatures, a modest number for a giant, but massive for a nation of under 6 million. Supermarket chains began marking U.S. products with a discreet black star, and the sudden label triggered a 12% drop in sales of American beef, nuts, and whiskey. The fallout hit the U.S. East Coast, where hotels in Boston and Philadelphia lost a steady stream of high-spending Scandinavian visitors. The most striking shift happened at tech fairs. Denmark, a hub for green innovation, used to send hundreds of startups to Silicon Valley seeking capital. This year, many are booking booths in the Netherlands or Toronto. The gap isn't loud, but every deal signed away from San Francisco is a thread unraveling from the great transatlantic tapestry. On Danish social media, stories abound of young people dreaming of Arizona's canyons but postponing trips because they don't want to explain at border control why they're carrying organic coffee or fear questioning about their Greenland visits. Meanwhile, Danes are rediscovering their own territory or destinations with a lower carbon footprint. They swap Route 66 motels for rural cottages in Jutland, drive roads lined with wind turbines, and find that the silence of the North Sea can be just as epic. And so, with the same calm they use to bake rye bread, they tell the world that consumption is a vote, and a small country can tip the scales of a superpower by shifting its loyalty a few degrees north. Number 6. Japan. Yen caution and road memories. There was a time when any arrivals hall in Honolulu was a sea of flower leis and a symphony of arigato, as thousands of Japanese tourists kicked off their vacations. In 2025, the scene has changed. The Office of Travel and Tourism Industries reports a 22% drop in Japanese arrivals during the first 4 months of the year. A strengthened dollar makes every burger and Disney World ticket 25% more expensive. Travel hurts the wallet, and, worse for Japanese culture, the dignity. In February, Japanese television aired footage of a student forced by Dallas customs officials to unlock his phone. A private chat joking about U.S. elections was exposed on the table. He was detained for 12 hours and deported without clear explanation. In Tokyo, the news became a warning. If they can snoop through your graduation photos, maybe it's better to delay the American dream. Tour operators confirmed the reaction. Corporate bookings, vital for conventions in Las Vegas and San Diego, fell 35%, according to JTB. This time, economics can't save the day. Washington has imposed restrictions on exporting lithography equipment and advanced chips, striking at the heart of Japan's industry. Tokyo, diplomatic by nature, softens its words, but travelers feel the tension. Meanwhile, the weak yen fuels an opposite trend, the rediscovery of domestic travel. Bullet trains to Kyushu for ramen, short flights to Sapporo for pristine snow, ancestral festivals streamed online. Route 66, mythologized in 90s manga, loses its luster compared to Hokkaido's coastal roads. In Hawaii, the blow is sharp. $600 million less circulates through Waikiki hotels and luxury boutiques that relied on Japanese buyers. Orlando malls cut Japanese-speaking staff. Woodbury Commons audio guides drop from 6 languages to 5. Influencers who once posed by the Santa Monica sign now showcase Osaka's hidden corners, captioning with local pride. The boycott carries no banners, only absence. And absence is a deafening silence in the tourism business. Yet nostalgia lingers. Film producers recall road movies shot by Japanese directors in Arizona's deserts. YouTube comments brim with muted longing. One day we'll burn rubber again in the land of the Grand Canyon. The question is, how long does it take to rebuild trust when each month another traveler decides their data security and the yen's softness outweigh a photo by the Hollywood sign? Number 5. Australia, long haul. Loyalty runs out of fuel. Australians are masters of distance. A 14-hour flight to Los Angeles was almost a rite of passage. That trip has become rare. The ITA records a 7% drop in March, the steepest since post-COVID reopenings. Qantas and United have cut 5 weekly rotations between Sydney and the U.S. West Coast. 100,000 fewer seats per year mean 100,000 empty hotel rooms, 100,000 untipped dinners in Santa Monica. The most cited trigger in backpacker forums like Oasis isn't cost. It's the border experience. Stories pile up, officers demanding laptops, snooping through surf photos, asking about WhatsApp contacts. Smart Traveller, Australia's government alert system, updated its advice in red letters. Entry never guaranteed, even with a valid visa. In a culture that values frankness, ambiguity stings. Better Bali, many say. Better Queenstown with its fjords. Better Fiji where the welcome smells of coconut. There's a more intimate reason. Australia fights its own climate battle. Fires and droughts remind each season that the planet is warming. Many travelers now track their carbon footprint. Flying 15,000 kilometers to rent an RV in Utah feels excessive when the Great Barrier Reef needs local defenders. Ecotourism groups push #holiday near home, convincing surfers that Byron Bay's golden sand can be as epic as Hawaii without the visa hassle. The economic fallout hits the American West. Parks like Zion and Arches, once buzzing with Aussie accents renting vans and buying gas, food, and tours, now see a 14% drop in Australian bookings for RV rentals. Guides with Sydney's melodic cadence close their seasons early. The silence echoes through the Orange Canyon walls that no longer hear "Wow, mate." The surfer swapping Oahu for the Gold Coast finds the local wave roars just as loud. The red wine traveler stays in Tasmania's vineyards, boasting of fresh terroir. There's no resentment, just a realization that the Wild West may not be essential when your own continent offers adventure, and the dreamed-of destination makes you feel like a suspect before stamping your passport. Number 4. United Kingdom, The special relationship under suspicion. For over a century, the cultural highway between London and New York was a two-way street. In 2025, the divide is clear. Virgin Atlantic cuts frequencies, IAG reduces capacity, and the British traveler retreats. Visit Britain estimates 480,000 fewer Britons will cross the Atlantic this year, taking $1.6 billion in vacation spending with them. It all started with a tabloid-worthy case. A Manchester lad traveled for a Texas music festival. A mix-up with his STA led to detention, handcuffs, and 19 days in an immigration center. When he was finally deported, tabloids splashed photos of the cuffs and the word horror in giant font. Parliament demanded answers. The BBC led news bulletins with the story, and social media burned with similar tales. A weakened pound and a muscular dollar do the rest. Every pint in a Brooklyn bar costs 15% more than last year. Across the Channel, Scotland markets its North Coast 500 as the alternative to Route 66. Campervan influencers post videos under Inverness rain, claiming the Highlands are more authentic than the Mojave Desert. And they are, at least for an audience preferring dramatic landscapes without customs interrogations. Culture wars fuel headlines. U.S. conservative media publish columns about supposed British overstays. The Guardian counters with stories of travelers deported over a single letter misspelled in their middle name. The middle-class tourist opts to avoid the drama. Broadway feels the absence. Seats once filled with Yorkshire accents sit empty. Nashville music venues lose 20% of line dancing visitors on tourist visas. Yet the emotional route runs deeper. For decades, the UK saw the US as a brash but endearing cousin. Now that cousin feels unpredictable, obsessed with bureaucracy, and peering through a magnifying glass for flaws. At Heathrow, conversations hum. Maybe Canada, say two retirees. Maybe Cape Town. After all, sun and wine exist elsewhere, and none demand you explain to a stern agent why you follow a certain journalist on Twitter. Number 3. South Korea, strategic ally, wary tourist. In Seoul, LED billboards once advertised English courses in California and summer camps in Florida. But 2025 opened with different headlines. 3 South Korean airlines cut 11% of seats to Los Angeles and San Francisco. Agencies report nearly a fifth of U.S. packages redirected to Canada or Europe. The spark was a viral video. A group of students ordered to show their K-pop memes at Atlanta Customs. Among the images, a sticker parodying a U.S. politician. Result? Entry revoked, deportation, and a social media storm. Many Koreans saw it as cultural profiling. Add rumors of extra scrutiny for couples carrying Korean makeup, and distrust soared. Geopolitical tensions add fuel. Washington presses Seoul to cover more costs for U.S. troops while restricting memory chip sales to certain markets. South Korea's economy relies on those semiconductors, so the average citizen feels diplomacy's chill in their wallet. The impact hits Las Vegas malls, where tax-free luxury purchases by Koreans dropped 12%. Midwest universities, once flush with Korean students, see 9% fewer applications, $200 million less for college towns. Pop culture reacts too. K-dramas, once filming romantic scenes in Central Park, now shoot in Vancouver's rainy streets. Korean fashion influencers pose by Ottawa's parliament, noting less immigration stress. Disneyland loses fans. Tokyo's Disney Sea gains bookings. Meanwhile, Korean viewers consume American adventures via streaming, avoiding a border that feels like fragile, transparent glass. Number 2. France. From American Dream to No Mercy. French love for the U.S. was born with jazz and film noir, but the saxophones fell silent when, in March, a Toulouse astrophysicist was detained in Houston, suspected of carrying sensitive data. News outlets spoke of a humiliated scientist, while social media made him a symbol. The hashtag blocked scientist amassed millions of interactions. Meanwhile, Voyageurs du Monde reported a 20% drop in U.S. bookings, and Air France cut 2 daily JFK flights, shedding 180,000 seats annually. The wound isn't just pride. Anti-EU rhetoric from the 2024 U.S. presidential campaign resonated loudly across the Atlantic. French politicians, still basking in Paris 2024's Olympic success, countered with speeches on cultural sovereignty. Influencers like Lena Situations launched Plan B vacancies, pitching Costa Rica, Quebec, and French Polynesia as cool alternatives. The economic damage in the U.S. is multilingual. New York hotels lose their third-largest foreign market and cut French-speaking staff. Broadway sees 9% fewer sales for French subtitled shows. In Napa Valley, vineyards offering French-language tastings face empty tables, while their wine exports to France face veiled retaliatory tariffs. The narrative splits. In Saint-Germain cafes, Route 66 is recalled as vintage romance, contrasted with the current craze for Scotland's whiskey trail. French filmmakers, once chasing scenes in San Francisco, shift scripts to Lisbon. The No Merci doesn't shout. It multiplies in every travel recommendation bypassing Los Angeles for Marseille. Number 1. Canada, a crack in the unbreakable border. The metallic clink of tolls at the Ambassador Bridge was daily music for Detroit and Windsor. That sound has dropped by 880,000 instances in March alone. The current binding the two neighbors has thinned to a thread. Flights from Montreal and Toronto have crashed by 71%, with 320,000 seats erased. Duty-free shops show yellow-taped, empty shelves for whiskey and perfume. The causes read like a breakup story. New Trump 2.0 tariffs on Canadian lumber and dairy anger producers. Then, a meeting comment suggests Canada should become the 51st state. The jest ignites like gasoline. Ottawa's foreign ministry updates its travel advisory. The effects hit street level. Detroit-Windsor casinos lose a third of their revenue. Restaurants clear tables on Saturday nights. Snowbirds delay their Florida migration, disrupting seasonal rental markets. In Minnesota, 40 youth hockey leagues cancel tournaments. $12 million vanished from hotels and fast food. The family-level story is even clearer. The gas-and-go ritual, crossing for cheap fuel and U.S. cereal, is replaced by overflowing carts in Montreal. Border chroniclers compare 1994's NAFTA euphoria to today's chill. The kindest neighbor stops ringing the bell, and in Washington the echo feels like a blow to pride. But the emotional hit comes when the distance isn't geographic, it's psychological. A Yukon driver who once headed to Seattle for concerts now drives east to Banff. A Calgary executive swaps an Orlando convention for Vancouver. The U.S.'s largest trading partner shifts its compass a few degrees, and the nation that boasted open borders finds the door ajar, but no one dares push it. 7 countries, 7 mirrors, reflecting the same image. The U.S. is no longer the inevitable destination or the trusted host. Each absence leaves an empty seat on Broadway, a dark room in Honolulu, a quieter highway in Utah. No walls or bans are needed. Distrust is enough to keep suitcases unpacked. The economy will feel it in numbers, but the reputation will feel it in essence. If travel is the sincerest vote a global citizen casts this year, millions vote with their feet, turning their compass to another horizon. If you want to keep exploring how these invisible currents reshape the world's map and wallet, hit like and subscribe. The next frontier might be closer than you think.